The company says they give you total money, the total money allocate to company, and say distribute this money to various activities. It means we allocate at the parent level and it has to be distributed to the children. So suppose I say I have total budget. The company give you total budget 10,000, right? And you need to allocate this budget into various business activities. Could be your meeting expenses. You need to allocate for meeting expenses. You need to allocate for personal, material management, different kind of expenses. What is important over here? A total money is given to you, and you need to distribute among various activities. This is called top down. Top down is called allocation. So I give you total money, and I ask you distribute this money among your various expenses. Planning does support top down and bottom up. Both kind of budgeting is possible. Bottom up would be simple. You allocate, money has been given for individual expenses and you consolidate them to bring over here. So some of this one is bottom up. Parent to children is a top down. People definitely ask you, if you go as a Hyperion consultant, people ask you, I can do this task using Excel. Why should I need a planning? And you need to put your answer in a very justified manner. Why do you really need planning? Do you really need planning? I can do this task using Excel, right? Why you need planning? Very important. Excel can perform most of the tasks what planning can do it. But when it comes to process management, Excel cannot do. All the formula functions you can do in Excel. So spreadsheets are certainly a handy tool which can perform your all planning and budgeting needs. For a small organization, they really don't need planning. But for enterprise level organization, they need planning to define the process. It's a handy tool for running numbers. They are particularly useful if you want define business rules. A business rule could be simple calculation. Business rule calculation on the fly. And we can also automate the planning process using VBA. But what Excel cannot do, process management. It is difficult to use Excel when my organization is enterprise and there are hundreds of plans working simultaneously. Now look at this example. I've got 100,000 users. I've got 100,000 planners. And each planner working on 10 planning units. 10 planning units with different kind of planning you are doing. Expense planning, material management, meeting expenses, any kind of expenses. So it would be each planner working on 10 planning units at their 100,000 planner. It means the total number, you have got a 10,000 planning units. It is difficult to manage in Excel. Not only amount, we'll talk about in terms of process also. Then you need to distribute the planning process among users. I'll talk about this in detail. Planning process goes through many iterations, which become increasingly difficult or in fact impossible to manage through planning process. Why it goes to multiple iteration? Let me show you this example. I've got very nice example. Okay, I think it's not then this PPT. Let me show you what I mean over here. Suppose I fill this planning sheet. I'm doing this planning for a particular line of business. This is my organization structure. This is my organization structure. I've got a line of business. Company has different business. We call line of business. Service, sales, consulting, different business, right? And under each line of business, they have sub line of business. Under sub LOB, they have division. Under division, they have group. Under group, they have cost center. In an organization, everything is mapped to cost center. Your salary is being generated using cost center or revenue center. Each revenue is recorded to one revenue center. If you have got 100 shops and you want to know, you have a total revenue, but which shop give you more revenue, which product give you more revenue. So you need to know all these details. So if this is my organization structure, right? Each department says we need X amount for different activities. So let's say these are the cost center. Imagine these are the cost center in terms of numbers. For each cost center, I am recording meeting expenses. I need to evaluate meeting expenses for different cost center. And each cost center has some employees. This cost center has 10 employees. This has 20 employees. Like this. Now when you want to evaluate a meeting expenses, there is a planner called David is a planner. David is a planner which manages meeting expenses. He is responsible to evaluate meeting expenses for line of business, this line of business. And there is another, Jack is a planner for meeting expenses. Now, the manager for both the planners are, these people request certain amount for the meeting expenses. And Harry is a manager for both of them. So David and Jack both send their expense sheet to the manager. They fill this sheet. Both of them fill the sheet and send to their manager, Carrie. Now what Carrie does, Carrie sees, does he have enough money in their entire cost center to allocate to them, or the amount which they put is really justified or not. So Carrie, which works at cost center manager, is a cost center manager, Carrie, which checks whether it is really justified. If it justifies, he sends to next level manager. So imagine the next manager could be your Kim. Kim is a manager for Carrie, and Kim is a line of business, sub line of business manager, a particular sub line of business manager. So there would be many managers, cost center manager. Like one is Carrie, there would be many people, right? Will submit to Kim. Now Kim does again the same thing. Evaluate, check, does he have enough money to allocate or not. This way process goes on. Let's say Kim says we do not have enough money, or we do not have enough funding, or your expenses are not mapped to the revenue. We want to spend money wherever we get the revenue. We are not doing charity, so allocate money where we are not getting the revenue. So Kim, approve this plan, but reject this one. Carrie did not reject, but it is being rejected at Kim level. Cumulatively, they reject the money. So at this cost center, they needed 100,000. They need $1,000. This cost center, they need $2,000. But Kim say we don't have enough funding. We are not happy with your justification. I'm going to reject or ask, modify it and send me back. So you say no, this one money cannot be allocated. So Kim suggested the maximum money which we can allocate is 50,000. You modify, you send back to Kim, and this goes to iterative cycle unless it is been approved by your topmost manager, topmost in the hierarchy, unless it is being approved by line of business. So this is the iterative process, goes on. This is the behavior of Hyperion planning. This shows the iterative is a functional flow of iterative process. Explore the option. We find out various options, how we can reduce our expenses. Put this option, we detail planning and we evaluate the plan. It is being reviewed over here, and if it is passed, it goes next. If it doesn't, it fails, again it goes through. So this is iterative process. We'll talk about this in detail more because this is the backbone of the planning. Okay, so we talk about what is planning, budgeting, and why do we need it. Now let's talk about planning budgeting from Hyperion point of view. I'm going to talk about the architecture first. Okay, this is my architecture of Hyperion planning. Now I'm going to talk about both versions. The older version of Hyperion planning is 4x, and now we got a base version 9x. Now in the older version, this is the architecture for old version. I kept it intentionally to give you the feel that what changes are made primarily. In the old version, it's a 3-tier architecture: tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. Tier 1 is client interface, where users are, how users communicate to your planning. They communicate through client tier. So in the old version, we used to have desktop client. Now we don't have this. We used to have desktop client and web client. Now the planning is completely web-based solution. It means you don't need to install it. All the administration can be done using web-based. So web-based, there are two clients. First is Hyperion planning web client, which itself has two kind of client: Hyperion planning studio or Hyperion planning client, and there is a central client called workspace. Now you are actually exposed to workspace. There are two kind of client. What is the difference? There is no major difference. We'll talk about workspace in detail. This is one single interface for all Hyperion product. So if you are working in Hyperion financial management, as-based, Hyperion planning, strategic finance, financial reporting, interactive reporting, production reporting, all, the interface will be one. One interface for all Hyperion product. What is the benefit of this? The people don't have to go to different interface. When you implement Hyperion as an integrated solution, we cannot offer. We say there are four interfaces: one for S-based, one for HFM, one for planning. So one interface for all Hyperion products. So you can see there are some couple of HFM application I have. I've got S-based planning application. I've got a HFM application. Interface is one.